Avi Meyer, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at ntnm.org. All our videos are from the last 8.5 years available on YouTube. Caps24.org for community policing. It is Aldermanic season. There will be a Jewish Chicago coming out, so you can check it out. I'm not so sure in the 10th Ward you don't have a big Jewish population over there. But I'd like to thank Angie Brugilio, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, for introducing me to the next candidate, and that is Richard Martinez. How you doing?
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that.
First of all, thank you, and give us your background.
Sure. Lifelong resident of Chicago Southeast Side. My family moved to the Southeast Side in the early 1920s. My great-grandfather retired from Wisconsin Steel. And my dad's side of the family, they all worked at U.S. Steel Southworks, which obviously you're familiar with.
Yeah.
I grew up in South Chicago, 87th and Buffalo, right by the mill. And my family's been there for a long time. My grandfather, who is a World War II veteran, he's 90 years old, he lives with me now. He owned a shoe repair shop on 88th and Commercial, which is
the same block my father had his.
So it's very well possible that the families knew each other.
Yeah, my father was there from 1945 to I don't know, like the mid-'70s, something like that.
Yeah. So I'm sure their paths crossed.
And by the way, I would imagine, because he always patronized the block, including the furniture across the street, which is Harrison, the son of the rabbi from that synagogue, by the way. But he always patronized the block. He believed in that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
you
probably fixed my shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. If not my grandfather, maybe my great-grandfather, because they started the business together. So. Been in government for almost 20 years. Started out as an aide to former 10th Ward Alderman John Buchanan. So I got my training and experience in the Chicago City Council. I was also a legislative aide in the Illinois State House, worked for Cook County government, and for the last 15 years I've been working for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, where I serve as
my favorite agency, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Very good.
Sonny and I have been in the deep tunnel.
Oh, have you? Well, it's actually one of the contracts that I monitored. The last deep tunnel contract, the South Holland Leg, was one of my contracts, and I work in the diversity section there, and I monitor our district contracts for compliance. So I've been doing that for 15 years. My wife and I have been married almost 18 years. We have 5 children, 3 daughters and 2 sons. And as I mentioned, my grandfather lives with me, and my mother lived with me. So we actually have 4 generations living under one roof, which is old school.
I think that's great.
You don't see that too often anymore.
I love that. Absolutely love it.
So it's been a real blessing to have them with us. And I ran first for alderman back in 1999 when it was an open seat. And I finished 3rd in that race with about 1,200 votes. Didn't think I'd ever run for public office again. And then 4 years ago, I got re-engaged, and the community asked me to run, in which I did. And I got 40% of the vote, or 4,000 votes, in that campaign.
It's pretty good.
And yes, it is. And here we are once again. Unfortunately, things haven't changed for the better in the 10th Ward. We had to fight a coal gasification plant since the last campaign. And all the elected officials told us it was a done deal. Rich, you can't do nothing about it. They're going to build this plant across the street from Washington High School on Avenue O. And myself and many other members in the community banded together, and we fought against it, and we defeated it not once but twice.
Nice.
And so we're grateful for that. But since that time, many people may be familiar with the word pet coke now, which is petroleum coke. And after a front page article in last year's Chicago Tribune showed a dust storm took place and showed these 60-foot high black mountains that you can see off of the Skyway, blowing all this fine black dust, which is it's a waste product of the refinery process from the BP plant in Whiting, Indiana. And we banded together once again as a community against the elected officials, including the current alderman, who has accepted and received thousands of dollars in campaign contributions from all of the polluting industry, and forced some accountability. And so since that time, there have been some regulations put in place to monitor this. Beamster Bohr, which is one of the entities, was found to be operating without a permit. They actually decided to leave. and they took their piles with them. So now we're face to face with KCBX, which is owned by the notorious Koch brothers. And
no relation to Pet Coke. But
no, and we continue to fight against them and against that particular product, which is shown to cause several health issues. It's obviously not good for our property values, and part of our campaign is to say we want something different. We want a different type of industry. We don't want to go back to the old polluting industry of the past. We want to do green economic industrial corridor, things that are going to bless the land and bless the people and not harm the people or harm their health.
I like that. This is very good. And by the way, you should know, it's interesting because I didn't realize you were going to talk about any of that, but I read everything I can get my hands on about the Pet Coke thing. And when you mentioned the Beamster...
Beamster boar.
You know, like, why am I familiar with this? Because I read all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I take that very seriously. That's a big problem.
Yeah, it's a very big problem, but it's also about, you know, what type of vision do we have for the 10th Ward as far as, you know, we know what our past was with the steel industry, and I come from, you know, 3 generations of steel workers. But, you know, we got to have something different, a different plan, a different vision for not just the 10th Warders that live there now, but for future generations of 10th Warders. And my commitment to the 10th Ward and the Southeast Side is to bring a different vision, a greater than mentality as opposed to a less than mentality. And we have a less than mentality right now where the mindset of the current administration is, well, something's better than nothing, got a for sale sign on outside the ward, and whatever comes in, well, that's something is better than nothing. And I don't agree with that. I believe that whatever we bring into the ward as far as economic development has to include the people that live there now. So one of the things we've been talking about are community benefit agreements to make sure that local 10th Ward residents benefit from whatever happens there, that they participate in the employment and the contracts of whatever happens there. And unfortunately, that's not happening now. What happens is whatever comes in, those developers, they contribute thousands of dollars to the incumbent, and then he's got this secret pipeline of hiring just for his own special select crew of folks. And so we're saying in order to guard and protect against that, we need to establish community benefits agreements. And we've got one of the largest economic development opportunities, not just in the 10th Ward, but in the entire city of Chicago, which is on the 570 acres on the lakefront, which is owned by USX. And what happens there not only has an opportunity to benefit and bless the 10th Ward now, but in future generations, but also has an opportunity to be an economic engine for the entire city of Chicago if it's done right. And I don't believe that currently the way that it's fashioned is going to be done right. And I think ultimately it's going to force the people out, Bush and South Chicago primarily, and they're going to get the short end of the stick in place of all this high-income housing and things that they want to build there.
Interesting. And that's, I have to take a drive back down there when I rent a car next time.
Sure.
Got to see the old hood. Anyway, if people would like to contact you, you have a website, I'm sure?
Yeah, our website is Martinez10, so martinez10.com. They can also reach us on Facebook at Rich Martinez 10th Ward. It's a great way to keep up with what's going on in the campaign.
Thank you very much, Richard
I appreciate
Martinez,
you having
candidate for Alderman 10th Ward. I want to thank Andrew Brugilio for inviting you. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. From here on in, it's going to be straight Aldermanic mayoral candidates. Till election time, thanks everybody for joining us. Bye-bye.